You got it. Leslie Kendall, LeslieKendall.
And you are?
I am the curator of the Petersen Automotive Museum.
Okay.
Peterson is Petersen.
All E's.
All E's.
All E's. Tell us a little bit about this exhibit. I mean, why an exhibit about all of these cars that have to do with one man?
Carroll Shelby is such an important figure in not only auto racing but auto construction, and he's so locally oriented, orients so much to Los Angeles that we felt it was about time that we step back and not just look at his cars, but look at his life.
Can we do that again? Please,
Yeah.
with whistling and coughing and everything.
Yeah.
Who's whistling?
I know, but it was.
We're rolling, please, quiet.
Quiet on set. What was the question?
Why an exhibit about Carroll Shelby? What caused the museum to do this?
Carroll Shelby is such a well-known figure in both auto racing and auto production that we thought it was about time to do an exhibition that focused not only on the cars he produced or influenced, but also on his life.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about the differences between European and American car racing circuits?
I mean, I can talk generally. European racing is more sportsman and endurance oriented. It goes back a long time. American racing is more, when you think about it, it's more circle track and going around as fast as you can over the same course. It's more it's has a lot to do with endurance, but also a lot to do with the vehicles themselves, and they're very highly specialized vehicles intended for really one or two highly specific driving situations.
Okay. Tell us about the genesis of the Carroll Shelby sports cars and what was Carroll's involvement with them?
When people talk about Shelby, the first thing that comes to their mind is the Cobra. And that's really the first car that bore Shelby's name. It was a Shelby Cobra, AC Shelby Cobra initially. Shelby had heard that AC was losing its engine supplier. AC is a British manufacturer, very attractive sports cars. He also heard that Ford was producing a V8 engine of a size that would fit easily into the engine compartment of the AC. Rumor has it, he told AC, hey, look, I can get these engines from Ford if you will allow us to put them in your car. And he told Ford, hey, look, I can get these cars from AC. The engine fit perfectly in them. So he got the two together.
It's this sort of pea under the shell game.
So,
Find the pea.
yeah, maybe.
What was the Carroll's rivalry with Ferrari? When did that begin?
Carroll's rivalry with Ferrari began almost as soon as the Cobra was born. Anytime you have two dominant manufacturers, people that are the leading performance car makers of the individual country, I think you're going to get some head-to-head competition eventually. And Shelby was certainly one of the leading manufacturers here in America. He made sexy sports cars, ideally suited to our driving conditions, and Ferrari did the same thing, but for Italy and Europe.
What did winning at Le Mans mean to Carroll?
Winning at Le Mans is just about the ultimate in international prestige. It's a 24-hour race. You never know what kind of weather you're going to get, but you do know that you're going to put your car through the ultimate test. Non-stop, a few pit stops, a driver change or two, maybe, hopefully, but really putting your machine to the ultimate test. If you could win Le Mans, that said a lot about the car that you were building.
Now, is Le Mans run on a track or is it run on the streets? Is it a street race or?
Le Mans is run on a closed course that has a lot of different road characteristics. You've got long straights, you've got tight turns, so you really need a car that is good in all areas of racing, something that can take corners rapidly and something that can go down the straightaway as fast as you please.
When did Carroll's heart trouble resurface?
When is her? To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I just don't know.
Do you know anything?
I mean, I
about-
kind of know, but I don't want to
That's
give
okay.
dates and
That's
times.
fine. What were the highlights of Carroll's final season as a racer? Do you know?
But I'd have to double check. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know about the genesis of the Shelby Cobra?
Yeah, it's what I mentioned before. He found.
Oh, the AC.
Yeah.
Switching the engines and
Right.
the car bodies and telling Ford.
Right,
had one thing
exactly.
and telling AC had
Exactly.
another. Putting them
Exactly.
together.
Bringing them together.
And the Italian car that you've got here, the Scagliata.
Yeah, the Scaglietti Corvette.
Yeah.
That would originally, if General Motors was willing to play ball, that could very well have ended up the General Motors version of the Shelby Cobra. Here was a car that Shelby had interest in having involvement with. He saw the potential of putting a lightweight body on a American chassis, which is what he ended up doing. Pardon me, a lightweight foreign body. Pardon me, a lightweight foreign body on American components, which is what happened with the Cobra. We talked about it. We started with the British car, American engine. Here we had an Italian coachwork, lightweight Italian with an American power plant and running gear.
And what was the story behind the Scaglietti? Do you know how that started?
To be honest, there are a lot of rumors.
Uh-huh.
I could say what it's believed to be, but
Go ahead.
I don't know that I
We're
want to.
gossiping here.
Well, I don't know that I want to.
Oh,
you know,
all
being
right.
being recorded. I mean, to be honest with you,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've heard things that Ferrari Scaglietti was a bodybuilder for Ferrari, and when Ferrari saw the car that is in this exhibit right now, he said, "What's that?" He goes, "Well, that's a Corvette with a Scaglietti body." He said, "Well, that's the last one you're ever going to do. If you still want to work for me," and they said, "Okay, that's the last one we'll do." So that's how it ended.
But somehow General Motors, if General Motors had wanted to do something, they probably could have. Is that what you're?
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
Back then, General Motors already had the Corvette. They didn't really need something different. Ford didn't really have a two-seater car. They had the Thunderbird that was a two-seater from 55 to 57, but it really wasn't the ground-thumping race car that the Cobra was.
It's such a beautiful car, though.
It's gorgeous.
And they only made 3 of them.
Yeah, the Scagliettis, they only made 3. What's interesting about them, they have no windows in the doors. They built them without windows of any kind. It was just to save perhaps production costs. It was easier to do. It was quicker to do. And when you're only building 3,
What the heck?
drive on a sunny day.
If you can afford one of those, you can afford.
If you can
to
afford
drive.
one, you can afford a car for rain, right?
Right. Yes. Right. Why wasn't GM interested in supplying engines for Shelby?
I'd be guessing. I think General Motors was more interested in pursuing their own product line. In other words, the Cobra. I'm so sorry. I think General Motors was more interested in pursuing their Corvette, doing something in-house rather than going outside. Although all 3 major manufacturers eventually went to Carroll Shelby for something.
I know he did end up at all 3 with something for every one of them. Do you know how Carroll came up with the name for those cars?
Carroll came up with the name Cobra in a dream. He woke up in the middle of the night, wrote it down on a pad of paper that he kept on his nightstand, went back to sleep. In the morning he got up and looked at it and goes, "Cobra, that's what it's going to be."
It's a great story. What were some of the Cobra's advantages?
Like all good sports cars, Cobras had a very high power to weight ratio, and they also handled really, really well, and they also looked terrific. It was a sexy car. It was a nicely proportioned body with an American engine that was both powerful and reliable, and it was very easy to service at just about any Ford dealer.
How did the Cobras perform in Europe against Ferrari and the other competitors?
Cobras eventually did quite well, especially the Daytona Coupes. Carroll Shelby realized that the open Shelby Cobras were limited because of their aerodynamics. Pardon me. Carroll Shelby ultimately realized that the top speed of the open Shelby Cobras were limited because of their aerodynamics. And that's what prompted him to produce the Daytona Coupe, which was a closed car. The air flowed much more smoothly around it, enabling it to attain a much higher top speed.
How did the Cobras evolve over the years?
Well, there weren't that many iterations of Cobras. They started out with the 260 engine, then it went to the 289 almost right away. And then after a couple of years, I thought, well, you know, we have this wonderful 427 engine. Let's go ahead and put that in. And then there were a couple of other big block Ford engines that also found their way under the hood of the Cobra. So there are many different versions, but they all have the same goal, and that's to go fast in a straight line and around the corners and look really good doing it.
Why did the production of the Cobras end?
I believe the production of the Cobras ended when AC decided not to produce their platforms anymore, and the supply of those dried up. That's what I've heard. You might want to check that. Your
And
fact checker.
And there wasn't, in other words, there were no American manufacturers. Ford wasn't interested in creating bodies for the Cobras because the bodies came from AC.
Well, there were a couple of specialized bodies that were built for Cobras, but no, the primary source was in Great Britain. Mm-hmm. And when the tap was turned off, then they decided, well, that chapter's over.
It's so interesting to know about the whole other world of racing, which doesn't have anything to do with production cars.
Although it can, I like it when production. People used to sell cars back at the turn of the 20th century, even to the teens and 20s into the 30s. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday. Racing a car was a really terrific way of promoting it because you promoted its performance and you promoted its reliability. Not only it performed well, but it did so over this many miles or this long a period of time. You got publicity by doing that too. Your car was on the front page of a newspaper, the front page of a magazine, or on a billboard somewhere. And people got interested. They say, wow, gosh, now if that car can do that under those extreme circumstances, maybe I want one of those. And just think what people will think of me.
But we're talking about the 427 here. I mean,
Right, yeah.
We're talking about a series of cars that not very many commuters would be able to handle on a day-to-day basis.
It would take a very special person to commute on a day-to-day basis in a 427 Cobra. But I think there are a lot of special people out there
Who want to go fast.
who want to go
Work.
fast. Yeah, they don't want to be late to work.
What makes the GT Racer different than the other cars?
GT, it depends. Again, this is a fact checker thing. It depends on the context of your question. But GT, meaning Grand Touring in its strictest sense, is more of an overlap with street cars than it is pure racing cars like Formula One today. That's not a lot of Grand Touring going on. It's
Right.
just out and out racing. But GTs were normally street cars with racing pretensions, a whole lot of overlap, what some people call a dual-purpose sports car. But as the years went on, the distinctions became greater and greater, and there was very little in common between the two.
What was the appeal of the GT40 project for Shelby?
Shelby was terrific at taking small series of cars and developing them properly. Ford, with all its vast resources and knowledgeable engineers and talented engineers, they didn't have what it took to take on what amounted to a small project, but Shelby did. He took it and he whipped it into shape, and he got that car to be all that it could be in a very short period of time.
What did Shelby do to make that car competitive?
Shelby took care of a lot of details on the GT40. He helped with the aerodynamics, the suspension design, all the little things that individually maybe don't make much of a difference, but when you combine them, the cumulative effect is quite considerable.
Do you know how fast those cars were capable of
Geez, I'd be
going?
guessing, I'd say well over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so too.
you know how the GT40 got its name?
How did the GT40
Do you know
get its
that, though?
name?
Do
No,
you
I
know?
don't.
It's 40 inches high. GT40 got its name because it's 40 inches high from roof to the ground.
Huh.
Don't worry, it won't be on the final.
Ford engineers spent a lot of time coming up with that.
Well, you know.
Why did Shelby